Hello and welcome to Chris's Creative Corner, episode 6. We are talking books on this podcast and books of mine that I wrote. I am a small-time published author. I will be reading from books that I've written, and we will also be talking about my books with other people who exist in the world that have read my books, because that's totally a thing. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm looking forward to that. First, we're going to start off with 2 questions for Chris. This is a segment I introduced on episode 4, where people have emailed or written in or posted questions for me, and I get to answer them. There's some really good ones that I've been asked too. I am very excited to answer some of them. The first question was asked by a friend on Twitter. It asks, what is your interesting writing quirk? I often write alone, so I don't know that I have interesting writing quirks. I have a process. I will sit in a specific spot in my living room. That may change depending on my living situation, whether it's a house or whatever. I may have like a small office or something that I have a computer where I can sit at and write, or a space that I can have set aside. So I can write basically anywhere. I guess my writing quirk is that I always have to have something to drink. Otherwise, I bite my nails, and that's a problem. I have actually started biting my nails again, like down to where they like get too short and bleed, and that's just a stress thing. But I notice that when I have something to drink by me, that's super helpful. Anytime that I'm, typing away, I can choose to take a second, take a break, and take a drink. Obviously, that has its drawbacks because I don't often drink just water. When I first started writing, and I ended up putting on quite a bit of weight because I was drinking full sugar regular soda. I have since switched to the zero variety of soda. No, it doesn't taste the same, except for one brand, Dr. Pepper, which I'm really shocked about, and I may have to change my preference to what soda I drink. This video is not sponsored by Dr. Pepper. Anyway, but I was drinking full sugar soda and put on weight, and so I switched to the zero variety and have started to lose that weight. But writing is often, it's a stationary position. So having that something to drink is helpful to me while I'm sitting there for hours on end. So I guess that's my writing quirk. As for in the writing, I overuse the word just and shrugged. It seems like all my people in my books are just shrugging all the time. Oh, see what I did there? Sorry. But no, like, I try and keep it real. I notice a lot of people shrug when they're talking. Instead of saying, I don't know, a lot of body language is happening in communication, and conveying that through writing is important to me. That being said, I also need to find new ways of making sure that my characters don't know what the hell is happening anytime that they're going through things. So that's another thing. The next question came from a friend in person, and this was actually asked at one of my book signings months and months and months ago. They asked, where do you get the information or ideas for your books? And the main answer that I can give is that I get inspiration from my dreams. I have really vivid dreams that the ones that I tend to remember stick with me. So for example, when I was in high school, I had a dream that there was some kind of major explosion, and I was in the auditorium at my old high school, Century High School, go Diamondbacks. I was in the auditorium, and the ceiling collapsed in, and I ended up having to get someone out. I don't even remember who it was, but I flew. I flew out, um, and flew in. They were in my arms, and I flew them out with me and landed. And I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like flying is so scary. I can't even imagine like being able to fly." Um, that dream helped me start my first sci-fi novel, which is now called Fragments: The Revelation. Um, I did not keep that premise. I just couldn't see how that was going to work out into like a full story. So I often take what I dream and think of a way to make it work. And then from there, I'll decide whether I'm going to turn that into a story or not. Um, I will also say that I get inspiration from any media that I partake in, whether that's movies, television, radio, podcasts, down to video games, books as well. I'll take inspiration from like a specific line or specific character, and I'll think, oh my gosh, if I incorporate that characteristic into my character or something, that would make them so much more this or that and that kind of thing. So I know that I take a lot from various places and put those pieces together, and I'm able to create what I feel is a character that's relatable, um, and imperfect, which is just like everybody. As I have been reading books to my husband, there's been times where he's been like, "Oh, he's so annoying," and I'm like, "Uh huh, thank you." Like I'm so honored that he really dislikes one of the characters. Um, and it's really fun. So I feel that it's successful to be able to not just take from my dreams, but from any media that I ingest and incorporate that into my writing. So yeah, that's where I get my information and my book ideas from, or from dreams. I will say there was one movie that inspired me to write, like to plan like a whole, I don't know, like 20 book series of some kind. And I'll see how that works out. I have the premise and I have all these different ideas. I'm still focused on other things at this time. So honestly, what I'm hoping for is to be able to write full time. If anybody wants to just pay me lots of money to do that, I would be down. I would make the sacrifice and learn to live with that. So any ideas that you have, let me know. It'll be great. In the meantime, I'm going to continue on with reading Porch Light. This is episode 6, so we are on chapter 6. In the last chapter, chapter 5, the band went to Nashville, started recording. Casey and Nick had like this sexual thing that happened that we're really unsure about, that Nick's unsure about. Casey's like, oh man, like I was so drunk. And Nick's like, oh, every time you're drunk, that's a thing that happens. But this was a brand new thing that happened sexually. So we're going to continue to see that relationship develop as well in chapter 6. So, chapter 6, babysitting. Casey's pep talk helped me get through the rest of the week. We finished Sorry, then moved on to Left to Waste. We were just starting to work on Time when Omar called us in for a meeting. How's the first week been for everyone? Getting the hang of it? I know it's quite a change from performing live. Levi nodded, eyebrows raised. It's really different, but I'm having a blast. Kennedy rubbed her eyes. We were all tired, but I had to admit Kennedy's instrument was a little more physically demanding than mine. Same. I'm having a lot of fun. I think we'll have a really good album. I nodded in agreement. I wanted to ask what you thought about recording ghost-written songs. Levi and Kennedy looked at me and Casey. Casey and I were the songwriters. I took a deep breath. I mean, we have enough originals for an album. I'm sure we could even make a few more. Why do we need someone else's songs? It's about adding to your repertoire. You're all really good with the rock, but even your softer songs have a hard edge. I'd like to hear something from you that's simple. Just guitar and vocals, maybe keyboard. Casey and I shared a look. I mean, Casey and I have been working on a random song. I don't think it will be ready in time, Nick. I was surprised he was doubting us. We wrote Face Off for Dead in an afternoon and performed it in the same night, but I didn't want to contradict him in front of Omar, show a united front and all that. Yeah, you're probably right. It's still in the baby song stage. Not even that. Song embryo. Omar nodded. I'll send you with a few choices to listen to, and take tomorrow off. Go see some of the sights. It'll be your first day off in 6 days. Enjoy the city. So we did. We got all dressed up and went out to a bar we'd seen a few blocks from the hotel. When we walked in, we were met with an entire crowd singing Bohemian Rhapsody while a group of girls wailed on the microphone up front. I turned excitedly to Casey. Your guitar's back at the hotel. We should go back and grab it and see if we can sing an original. Casey grinned sheepishly. Maybe you should let Levi play the guitar. I tapped him on the chest with the back of my hand. You've always been so shy about playing guitar. You play beautifully. Come on. Please? He acquiesced, and we came back to the bar a few minutes later. I'm gonna need a few drinks before I get up there. Not too many, Case. I still need you to be able to play. Let's do an acoustic version of Sorry. I'll work it out with the KJ. It was tougher than I thought it would be to convince the karaoke jockey to let us do an original song. He argued with me for several minutes that people wanted to just sing songs they were familiar with, and they weren't here for free advertising. I finally convinced him when I showed him our pictures in and outside of Ackerman Studios. See, we're the real deal. All right, you're up in 10. Thank you. I went back to our table. Kennedy was standing at the bar, chatting with a guy in a cowboy hat. Levi was listening intently to the guy singing karaoke. Poor guy. He can't find the pitches. He's got a good instrument. It just needs some tuning. I turned to Casey. We're up in 10 minutes. You ready? He downed the last of his beer. Yep, feeling more ready now. Soon the KJ was announcing a band from Idaho had asked to perform an original song from their soon-to-be-released album. We got up, Casey sitting on the stool and moving one of the wireless handheld microphones to be closer to his guitar. He strummed a few chords and messed with his tuning until he liked it. Then he gave me a nod. We're taking back Nick, and this is called Sorry. As I sang, I tried to gauge the audience's reaction. I could see Levi looking proud, but Kennedy was busy making out with the cowboy hat guy. I turned to look at Casey and saw him staring at me with a piercing gaze. I sang the last little bit of the song to him. The audience cheered and applauded, and I don't think they were doing it just to be nice. Look for our album, Taking Back Nick, coming out soon, and find us on all the social media. We stepped down and people immediately approached us, asking more about our songs and who we were. Casey even had a girl buy him a drink. He disappeared with her to another table after a few minutes. Levi and I spent the rest of the night talking with a few new people who shared their experiences with music. One of the guys asked if he could do some kind of partnering with us on our record, and I took his information. Casey was over in a corner with a brunette, getting more and more drunk. Finally, it was almost time to close the bar, and I went to get him. She was sitting on his lap at this point. Patricia! Meet my best friend in the whole wide world, Nikki. Nikki, meet the lovely and beautiful Patricia. Hi, nice to meet you, Patricia. She grabbed my hands, hers as soft as silk. I caught an overwhelming whiff of baby powder and perfume. Nice to meet y'all here tonight. I was just talking with Casey about all the kinds of music he likes. I love a man who plays the guitar. Yeah, Casey's a great musician. He also plays the bass and even plays the piano a little bit. Wow, he's so talented. Casey gave me a wide grin. Patricia's a cosmetologist. Look at her nails. I looked at the manicured claws on her fingers. Yeah, cool. Listen, we were all heading out. Okay, have a good night. I tilted my head slightly and smiled. A forced smile. You're not coming with? Nah, I think I'll see where the night with Patricia takes me. My smile was frozen. Okay, but how are you going to get back to the hotel? When are you going to be back? And where are you? Whoa, Mom! Casey laughed at me while his words cut me deep. I'm allowed to be an adult and have a night on my own. I'll catch up with you later, man. Just chill. I put my hands up and raised my eyebrows. Just checking in with you. Okay, I'll see you when I see you next, Patricia. I left the bar with Levi and walked back to the hotel. Kennedy had also disappeared, probably with the cowboy. I crashed on Casey's bed that night simply because I wanted to make sure he was okay. Yeah, right, that's the only reason, right, Nick? I shook my head as I laid there. I was really worried about him and wanted to make sure he got back to the hotel safely. We all had key cards, but did he have money for a cab? What if she had all the STDs? Patricia. Stupid Patricia, with her stupid long nails and big earrings and hair. I woke up the next morning to Casey laying gently down on the bed next to me. I rolled onto my back and looked over. He had his arms above his head. He looked very cleaned up, and he smelled freshly showered. He'd slept with her. Hey, I tried to sound as casual as I could. Hey, you switching rooms with me? I just figured if you weren't going to be using the bed, I'd forego a night on the pull-out sofa. Ah. The silence was only broken by my yawning. So, how's Patricia? He laughed. She's fine. It was a fun night. I hesitated before asking my next question. How fun? He turned his head and looked at me. How fun do you think? Oh. More silence. Why do you ask? Oh, I was just curious. Again, trying to sound casual. If I remember correctly, the last girl you were with was Nicole, from the paint store? He gave a sharp laugh. Yeah, she wasn't the last girl I was with. I just don't tell you about all of them. So there's been a bunch. There's been a few. Why is this so important to you? I sat up in bed, rubbing the sleep out of my eyes. It's not, really. I'm just curious. It's like you had your first hookup with a fan or something. We're already making rock star status, apparently. He sat up too, looking serious. Are you mad at me? I shrugged. No, I said I was just curious. Well, that's fine. I just feel like you're trying to be my babysitter or something. It's just, Nashville is so big and we don't really know anyone. I just want us all to stay together. I guess I'm paranoid or something. He rubbed his face. You didn't seem paranoid when Kennedy left with that guy. You didn't seem to notice at all, actually. I guess I didn't see her. You're like a mama duck. You've got to make sure all your ducklings are in a row. The problem is you don't have any ducklings, so you made me one of them. I'm totally capable of taking care of myself, Nick. I nodded. I know you are. Sorry if I, infantilized you or something. That was really not my intention. Anyway, we have the day off, so I'm probably just gonna chill here in the hotel room. Is that okay? I stood and looked at him. Please stop being so defensive. I really was just curious. I'm not mad or whatever. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm probably going down to the dining room for breakfast. Okay, I'm gonna stay here and sleep. I was up all night? Yeah. We looked around the room for a moment before I spoke again. Okay, well, I'll see you later then. Yeah. I found Levi downstairs eating several waffles, Kennedy nursing a cup of coffee. I grabbed some random food from the buffet line and joined them at their table. Morning. Morning. Levi just nodded, continuing to pour syrup on his plate. So what are your plans for today? Well, not falling in love with Casey, that's for sure. I let my fork fall to my plate with a clatter. Excuse me? Levi continued. Look, man, it's obvious. You dig him, and I honestly think he would dig you more if he was just given some time to figure out what that means for him. He always said he was straight, but we've both seen how you are together. Kennedy nodded. You just need to give him time and be there for him like he's there for you. That was probably the most I'd heard Levi say in 6 months. His words carried away a weight and let a new one settle. Okay, so maybe I was in love with Casey, but Levi said he was in love with me too. How do I get him to figure that out so he could be with me? No, wait, that's manipulative. Shit. So, I just wait? This sucks. That is the end of chapter 6 of Porch Light. Next week, chapter 7, we're going to see what happens between Casey and Nick. They kind of started getting into it a little. I don't know. Things look a little rough for them. That was chapter 7 of Porch Light by me, myself, and I, Chris Cole. Please subscribe if you are interested in hearing more about the rest of the book. I think, obviously, I wrote it, so I think that it's good, but it's also been getting some pretty good reviews as well. So I would like to think that other people enjoy it too. If you want to continue listening, I air an episode each week, and next week I'll have another one on, and that'll be chapter 7, episode 7 of the podcast. And the podcast is called Chris's Creative Corner. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.